Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Grayboardgamer here with the first game in my small box playthrough series, One Deck Dungeon by Asmati Games. The plan for this series is to first do a two-player playthrough and then also do an additional playthrough as solo in the campaign mode. Let's get this box open and get it set up. The first thing I'm going to do before I set up is select the two characters that I'm going to use for my two-player playthrough. I always like selecting characters or enemies or whatever part of a game that you can pick. I love selecting them randomly because it forces me to try different tactics, try different characters, and I don't get stuck just relying on the same combination of things to win a game over and over again. It forces me to think more. So we have 5 characters that come with the game. We have a rogue, a warrior, paladin, archer, and mage. I'm just going to roll 2 dice, and whatever 2 numbers I get, except for 6, will be the 2 characters I use. And we got a 3 and a 5, and that would be the paladin and the mage. With our characters selected, we now have the turn reference card, and that will go down on the table. Next, we choose which dungeon we want to go into, and the game comes with 5, and you can see there's a series of dots to the right of each name indicating the difficulty: easy, medium, hard. For this two-player playthrough, we're going to start with the easy, and easy goes in quotes. Please, it's not that easy. The Dragon's Cave. And we're going to start on the first floor. And in order to indicate that we're on the first floor, you take the dungeon card, slide it under the turn reference, so only the first floor is showing. Next, we'll build the first floor with all the closed door cards and the stairs. The stairs we'll just put down for now, but these cards that have the various encounters that we're going to have during the game will get shuffled into a deck and placed on top of the stairs card. The door cards are now shuffled, and that stairs card is on the bottom. These get placed in a draw pile. Next, we will have the level cards. Your players can progress up to through 4 levels. And this is the 2-player side. There's also a 1-player side to the card if you're doing the solo game. But in this case, we're just doing the 2-player, so both characters start at level 1, and whenever the level changes, then both characters level up together. And this indicates that we're going to get 1 potion during setup, and we need 7 in order to level up. 7 experience in order to level up. And the potions are represented by these white cubes that come with the game. You just put it on the turn reference card near the potions to indicate that I have 1 potion. And that is it. We are set up and ready to go. And I will go into detail of the characters and the different symbols and what it means on the cards as we progress through the gameplay. But we're ready to get started with our first turn of our 2-player session of One Deck Dungeon. Before we start our first turn, let me show you the card here for the first floor in the Dragon's Cave. And we have the Hall of Statues, and we have to spend 5 time units before the first turn on each floor. Now, a time unit is spent by discarding a card from the dungeon, these pile of doors here, because this acts like a timer, because things happen when you get to the staircase. So there are times that you want to either get through this quick or take your time, and in the beginning you want to take your time. So we're going to lose 5, so you simply take 5 cards right off the top, turn them face up, and start our discard pile, and that all takes place before our first turn. On our first turn, we'll do what it says here on the turn reference card. On each turn, spend 2 time units, then either explore or enter a room. We cannot enter a room because there are no rooms in play, so we have to explore. And when you explore, you add face down, closed doors to the dungeon until there are 4 total doors in play. What we have to do is, like it says, spend 2 time and then add face down doors until there are 4 in play. So we'll take the top 4, and this will populate our corridor with closed doors that we can now enter a room. And in order to enter a room, putting those out and exploring was our turn. Now we have to go to the next turn, which means again we spend 2 time, and now we can enter a room. And we have to choose one of these 4. I'm going to choose to start here in the bottom left, and we're going to get a skeleton. And this is one of the easier beginning ones to get. Right here is the amount of experience that it's worth, and 2 is as low as they get, 2, 3, or 4. And you see we have these boxes on here. These are the boxes we have to fill with our dice. Also, this crossed swords symbol means that this is a combat encounter. The other symbol you would see would be something that looks like a bear trap, and that would be a peril encounter, but this is a combat encounter. And we have to fill these boxes in order to prevent ourselves from having these negative effects, which is either loss of time or taking wounds. These symbols along the outside and the bottom you can ignore for now. I'll explain those after the encounter is over. And also, this creature has a further penalty. If we do not fill all the boxes, if any boxes are empty, we have to spend 3 more time. And thematically, I imagine that would be us trying to defeat the skeleton, undying. It probably keeps coming up over and over again, like a villain in a bad horror movie. So we have to decide if we want to take on this skeleton, or if we want to flee. If we flee, we would simply put the card face down, not encounter it, and that would be the end of our turn, and we would continue on with our next one and try another room. But let's look at this to see if we can stop the skeleton and have a successful encounter. Also, there's one more thing I need to mention. You look on here, and on the first floor, you see we have all, and that's the peril symbol, all peril encounters and all combat encounters when we're on floor 1 also have to have these boxes filled. We're dealing with a combat encounter, so we would also have a yellow 3 that would need to be filled. And that'll make more sense in just a moment when I explain how the boxes get filled. If we look here on our character cards, we have a number of symbols on the left side here. And this represents strength, this is agility, and then the blue is magic. That is the number of dice that we can roll, either the yellow dice, magenta, or the blue dice. And then the hearts represent the amount of health the character has. Also, you can see at the top here, it shows that this is the 2-player side. There are 1-player versions if you're doing solo on the back of each character, but we're using the 2-player version for this playthrough. There are also other abilities that they have, and then I'll explain those in just a moment. But let's take a look at the skeleton and see if we have the dice or even have a chance at taking the skeleton out without suffering too many consequences. What I like to do when I'm making my decision is I like to gather the dice that I'm going to be allowed to roll. And for a combat encounter, you roll all of the dice that each character is able to roll. So the paladin is going to get 2 strength dice and 2 magic, and the mage is going to get 1 agility and 3 magic. And we can see that our skeleton requires 3 of the strength boxes to be filled, 2 magic, 1 agility, and then don't forget we have the 1 strength box out here that we also have to fill. Now, I say we have to fill, but we don't have to fill them all. If we don't fill them all, of course, we'll suffer the undying penalty. But if I was managed to fill everything but this 1 box here, then I would suffer 1 time and then also suffer 3 more times for a total of 4 due to that. So I always try to make sure I fill the wounds first. But these ones that you see that have the shield symbol on them, whenever you have an encounter with that symbol in some of the boxes, you have to fill the shield boxes first before you can put dice anywhere else. And if for some reason you cannot fill the boxes with the shields on them, you are also not allowed to put dice anywhere else, and you'd have to suffer all of these consequences. Before we make our decision, let's take a look at the special abilities that each of our heroes has. The paladin has the valiant ability, and it can be used in combat or peril. Place and you see that symbol, that is the heroic die. That is these black dice that come with the game. I can place one of these on her card if we open a door that has 4 or more experience on it. That will not apply here on the skeleton since it's only a 2 experience creature. And then this symbol means it's a free ability that I can use once per round. And my partner can reroll any ones during a combat encounter, which this is a combat encounter. So if my partner here, the mage, rolls any ones, the paladin will allow her to reroll her ones. Then next we have the mage, who has the mana charge ability. When you explore, which I did and I forgot to put a dice on here, which I'll do now. When you explore or flee, place a heroic die here, max of 1, and the paladin's was a max of 1 also. And then we can roll that die before any encounter, and that applies to both types of encounters. And then she has the free ability of power transfer during combat encounters, where my partner adds either 1 strength or 1 agility. And in this case, at least right now, it would be 1 strength because the paladin is not rolling any agility die. But since we explored earlier, which is when we added the 4 rooms, this heroic die will go on the mage's card and we can use it at any time. And I think now would be a good time because we have a lot of yellow boxes to fill and we're only rolling 2 yellow die. The heroic dice or die can be put into any box of any color. And in order to fill the box, we have to have equal to or greater than the number in it. So of course the 6, only a 6 is going to go there. So we either need to roll a yellow 6 to go there, or we need to roll a 6 on the heroic die. And I'm going to use her mana charge ability. And you have to roll this before the encounter, so this one will get rolled before their dice. And we rolled a 6. That is an excellent start. Now I don't have to worry about that 6. And I want to try to fill all these boxes because I want to save as much time early on so I can help level my characters up before they get down through all 3 floors, because once you get past the 3rd floor, then you encounter the boss. I'll start by rolling the Paladin's dice, and those are awful. A 2, a 2, a 1, and a 3. Let's hope the Mage fares a little bit better, because that is a bad start. That is tremendously awful. I don't think I can recall rolling 8 dice and my highest number being a 3. She didn't roll any 1s, which actually hurts us because we can't re-roll any of those, but we can add a 1 strength thanks to the power transfer from the Mage. So one of these 2s becomes a mighty 3. Hopefully this means it can only get better. And remember what I said, these shield boxes have to be filled first. Well, we can put a 2 in here, but we don't have a 4, which is terrible, which means we have to use our 6 on there. And now we're stuck with 5s and 6s that we can't cover. We do have a 3 out here in the dragon's cave that we can cover up to save us from taking 1 wound. And that is almost it, except for the fact that I can create a heroic die, and you can do this by combining 2 dice. In this case they're both 3s, so the heroic dice that they make will be a 3. For example, if this was a 3 and a 2, whatever is the lowest number would be what the dice you create is. But in this case, these 2 3s get combined, discarded, and now we have a 3 that we can use, and I'm only doing that so I save a little bit of time by placing that on there. And that is it. We are stuck with suffering 1, 2, 3 time, plus the Undying will be 6, and 2 wounds. That is a very rough start. And the wounds are split equally when they're inflicted, or as equally as possible. So each of our characters has a wound now, and we're going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can't stress how bad that is to lose that much time in the first encounter. That really, really hurts. The dice have been cleared away, and now we can take the encounter card as loot. And we can choose to take it as either 2 experience, the item, which in this case it would be strength, or as a potion, which would allow us to re-roll 1s and 2s and roll a heroic die during any type of encounter. That is a rough start. I know I keep saying it, I apologize, but that was a really terrible set of rolling. And I have to choose how I want to take this, in what fashion I want to use it. We move this off screen. There we go. Now if I take it as an item, as in strength, I would take it, place it under my character card, and now I would have, in this case, a 3rd yellow or strength die to roll during my encounters. Or I could take it as experience. In that case I would turn it sideways, place it under there, and that would be my first 2 experience, needing 7 in order to level up. Or I could take it as a potion, and then it would go underneath there to be used at any time. And when you add a potion, you would add a cube to indicate that you now have 2 available potions. And whenever you use one of these cubes, you can use any of the potions that are listed there. But early on, as tempting as it is to turn that into a potion where I can re-roll 1s and 2s, wow, that would have really helped last time. I also want some strength because we only have 2 right now. But I think I will take it as a potion. That way if I have another series of terrible rolls, then I can use it to re-roll all those 1s and 2s, or at least all the 2s that I had there, and hopefully have a better outcome to the encounter. And that will end this turn. Let's hope we fare better in our next turn. We'll spend 2. We'll come over here to the bottom right, and we are not messing with this, I don't think. Or maybe we will. This is a boulder, and you can see that it is a level 4, which means this will trigger the Valiant, where she can place a heroic die on her card if she opens the door with a 4+ encounter. And it gives you the Valor ability if you want to take it. And you can see here that it gives you magic and health or 4 experience, but this is really powerful to be able to have one of those heroic die to roll each time you have a combat encounter. Now this is a peril, so I have to choose, do I want to slow time and use my magic, or do I want to run past it and use my agility? Well, I obviously am not going to use my agility because I have 1. And when you do a peril encounter, you only roll the dice of the one you choose, so I would roll 1 die. And I also have this box out here with a 2 shield in it that I have to put on first because it's a shield, but it's a generic, it's not a particular color, so any dice can go there, but it needs to be at least a 2 to do so, and must go there first. If I slow time, I'm going to lose 3 time no matter what, but I only need 11. And we're going to get to roll 5 dice because we have 5 magic. So I think it's worth it to go for it. Let me bring the dice tray over here. Let's gather up our dice. Paladin's going to roll 2, and then the Mage can roll 3. I'm going to go ahead and stick with those 5 dice and save the heroic die for another time. Hopefully we can get some good rolls. The Paladin rolls a 2 and a 3, not a good start. We need something better than that from the Mage. And we got it. 2 6s and a 3. And you can see that these boxes are rectangular instead of square, which means you can use any number of dice to equal that number. Obviously you can't get an 11 or a 14 with 1 die. First we have to take care of the shield with this 2, and it's good, and then we need at least 11. That 12 will take care of that. We're just fine. No problems there. But I forgot to spend my 3 time that I have to no matter what. So that got spent, but we had a successful counter this time. No problems with taking any wounds. And I definitely want to take this skill of Valor to be able to roll one of the heroic die every time there's a combat encounter. And you can see the characters when they're level 1 can have 1 item, that's the one that goes off to the side here under the card, or 1 skill, and those would go underneath the card. Who do I want to give that to? I can give it to either one. She can re-roll any 1s thanks to the Paladin, so I'm going to give it to the Mage in case we roll it and it's a 1. Then she'll be able to re-roll that heroic die also. Let's explore another room. Not explore, let's enter another room. Go up here to the top left room, and it's another peril. And it is bear traps this time. And this doesn't look too good because we need agility either way. And we only have one agility die. So I'm not going to attempt this. I'm going to flee. And when you flee or explore, the mage's mana charge gets activated, and now she has a heroic die on her card also. We'll spend 2 so we can enter that final room that we have on the board. And it's a cave-in. Again, we're not going to climb over it. We could dismantle it. We have to roll the strength die, but we're going to lose 2 time. Is it worth it? I think so we can gain an agility, and we have more of a chance of doing it there. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. So we are going to encounter that. Let me bring the tray into play here. And we have our cave-in. We're going to choose to dismantle it, which means we have to spend 2 time either way. And the paladin will get to roll 2 strength dice. I'm going to have the mage roll her heroic die before the encounter because we're going to explore again in the next turn because we don't have any rooms that we can go into that are closed. We could go in that open one that's under here, but we don't have the agility to take care of it, so I'm not going to chance it. And since I'm going to explore again, I'll be able to put a die back on her card. So we'll let the mage roll before the encounter, get a 5. That is great. That means as long as we get at least a 2 on one of these, we're okay. Because we need that 2 to cover the shield out there. Look at that. A 1 and a 2. That's crazy. The 2 will cover the shield, and then the 5 and the 1 together equals 6. And we just barely dismantled that cave-in without it falling down on our heads again. That was crazy that we came that close to messing that up, even though we only needed a 1 and a 2. We got a 1 and a 2. Wow. Ominous start so far. And I'm going to take it as an item for agility. And I'm going to once again give it to the mage because during a combat encounter, let me move this up just a little bit so it stays on screen. During a combat encounter, the paladin will allow her to reroll 1s. So we want to be able to have that ability with her additional powers that she has here. Now I have to spend 2 again. And this time I'm going to explore. And since there's already 1 room open, we're only going to place 3 new ones to equal a total of 4. And since we explored, mana charge gets activated. Then we can spend 2 more so we can enter one of these new rooms. And which one do we want to enter? Let's go up here this time to the top right. And it's an ogre. And you can see it's one of the harder ones. We're not going to go up against this guy. We don't have the ability to mess with this thing with those numbers right now. No way. We would just end up taking a ton of wounds. Oh, and during that last turn I could have used one of my potions to re-roll 1s and 2s because of the clarity potion, but we didn't have to. We just skated by. So I'll spend 2 more to open another door. Let's go down here. And oh no! It's a force wall, another 4 experience. I could blast through because I can use 5. Yeah, I think I'll go for it. Because this will give me, give a character another health. or I could use it to prevent time loss. Wow. Alright, let's go for it. This is something we might be able to do. So we get to roll the magic die if we blast through. And that would be 2 for the paladin, 3 for the mage. And do I want to use one of my heroic die? I don't get to use valor because this is not a combat. So none of these skills are going to help us. Except for, nope, she can't reroll ones. Darn it. Okay, I'm going to have the paladin roll her heroic die before the encounter and get a 2, which isn't great, but it can go out there, which means we need to try and get at least 14. A 5 and a 3 is 8. That's a pretty good start. The mage is going to go. I think we're safe. We probably didn't even need this. So we'll put the 2 out there. 5 and 5 is 10 and 4 is 14. No, we didn't need to use this at all, but that's okay. I'd rather be safe than wrong. And now we have to decide how we want to take this card. Do I want to take it as the magic and the health? Or this means I could put any agility die on here, and if I do, I prevent 2 time loss. Or 4 experience. I generally don't take things as experience early on, because if I were to say I wanted to trade this item, since I can only have one for this item, I could do so. And then the one that came out would just go as experience over here. So you can get the experience later. But I don't want to get rid of that extra agility, so I wouldn't put it under the mage. So I can either take it, I'm going to take it under the paladin. That way she has extra health also. Somebody that can take a few more wounds for us. And now she'll have an extra magic also when she has to roll. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to click on these links and consider supporting the channel through Patreon. If you'd like to make a one-time donation, the link to my GoFundMe page is in the video description below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and check out the other videos on this channel. Your support is appreciated, and I'll see you in my next video.